Three Rivers Pantry Challenge and what is coming up next here in March. Hi friends, welcome to Carrie's Culinary Crafts, where we talk all things food. And today we're going to have just a little chit chat talking about the Three Rivers Pantry Challenge hosted by Jessica over at Three Rivers Homestead. Been watching her for years, and I've always wanted to go ahead and do this pantry challenge. And this year I decided was the year I was going to do it. I started my channel in December and figured, hey, we're going to jump right in and tackle this pantry challenge. So I wanted to kind of give you an overview of everything, all of my thoughts and things that I've learned, and going forward, any takeaways that I have regarding this pantry challenge. Now for the 2023 pantry challenge, I have my focus and my goals for the challenge. And yes, if you see me looking down, I have notes. My personal goals were, one was to use all of the old stuff in my freezer. I wanted to focus on everything that was 6 months and older, meat-wise. So I really had to dig down to the bottom of my freezer because I knew that a lot of my older stuff was down at the bottom, because the last couple times I got some meat, I just threw everything on top instead of reorganizing like I usually do. So that was my first goal, was to use all the older meats from the meat freezer. And the second goal that I had was I wanted to open up 2 rows in my bigger deep freezer in order to do freezer meals. I love doing freezer meals for many different reasons. Just, one, for the convenience, 2, for it's perfect for when I have unexpected company or guests coming, so I can visit with them and not have to spend all my time in the kitchen. I could throw in, maybe a couple lasagnas or something, and everybody will be fed and everything will be great. I just love doing freezer meals, and it just takes a lot of thought process out, especially like my kids were always involved in sports and karate and all different kinds of things, so there was always something going on, and just sometimes I needed to have something that was already done. I didn't want to have to go out to eat or go through fast food or anything like that. I was never really much of a fast food person. We do it every once in a while, but my kids didn't grow up eating fast food. I mean, I pretty much always cooked at home. Once in a while we'd order, we would order pizza. We used to have a pizza night where we would order out pizza. And once in a while, we might order something out. But for the most part, I prefer to go ahead and cook at home. So that is part of like having the freezer meals. Okay, so that was number 2. And number 3 kind of happened once I started going through and doing all of my tours of like all my food between the freezers and the pantries and the refrigerator. If you recall, when I did my refrigerator tour, I had that huge bag of condiment packets. I wanted to get those used up. Taking up a whole bottom shelf in my refrigerator door for this big gallon bag of all these condiment packets. I just never thought of them. It wasn't like they weren't things that we wouldn't use, because they certainly were. As most of you, if you've been following me through the pantry challenge, you would see me using up those packets. And, they were stuff like ketchup and mustard and mayonnaise and olive oil and red wine vinegar and, things like that. And they're things that I use all the time. I just never thought about it, never thought about using those packets. So, and because of the fact that the majority of them, they weren't really that old, but I didn't want to continue collecting them and I didn't want them taking up that space. So I went ahead and made that another priority in my pantry challenge to go ahead and use up those packets just to get them out of there. And then the fourth goal that I had was to try and clean off my bottom shelf as much as possible with my canning items. Because with my canning items, I kind of work from the bottom up. The top two shelves are usually always stock because I'm constantly doing stock all throughout the year. So those two shelves pretty much stay full of stock. But then I work my way up from the bottom. The bottom shelf is the oldest stuff, and then it goes up from there. So I wanted to use up a lot of, as much as from my bottom shelf as I could. Now I did do very well with that. I cleared more than half of the bottom shelf. However, when I just did my pantry reorganization of this canning shelf the other day, I found several things that were hiding up with my my stocks and broths, which was very disappointing to me. So I was so excited that I was finally getting through things. I thought I was down to my last can of kidney beans from 2014. And then I found, I think, 3 more cans that were up there with the stocks. So that was kind of like deflating. But, and I also found a couple other things. I found a whole row of chickpeas. So I have like 5 quarts of chickpeas that I have to go through. We like chickpeas. I like to make hummus. So it's not that it's going to be a big deal to get through. It's just, I didn't know that I had them. They were hidden somewhere. So it was kind of sad whenever I found 5 more quarts of chickpeas that I thought that I was done and, was getting ready to recan some more chickpeas. So, so yeah, there were like several different kinds of beans, the garbanzo beans, kidney beans, and I found 2 quarts of the cannellini beans. And there is 1 jar. No, I didn't find this. I knew that I had it, but I did not realize how old it was. I didn't realize it was from 2017. I have 1 pint of baked beans left. So I put that down on the bottom shelf. So that shelf is kind of like 3/4 of the way full now instead of less than half. So I want to continue to go through and work on that stuff. But those were my 4 goals for the pantry challenge. Now, did I reach these goals? Using up the old freezer meats? Yes, I did. I am down to just 1 bag of stuff that is from a year ago. 1 bag, and it's all chicken stuff. There's a whole chicken. There is, I think, chicken quarters, and that might be it. It just might be, yeah, I think it's just chicken quarters and a whole chicken that's left from my CSA that I had from a local organic farm. So I do have some stuff there that I still need to use up, but I went through so much more of meat than I thought I would, but we'll kind of get into that in a little bit. But so yes, did I use up the freezer meats? Yes, I definitely met that goal. I am down to 1 small bag of a few things left over, and I'll get those used soon. Did I open the 2 rows in the big freezer for my freezer meal? Yes, actually I did. I did reach that goal a while ago. I put up a poll a couple weeks ago, you know, asking whether people wanted me to continue on with the challenge, since I met my major goal of, you know, opening up those 2 rows in the freezer, and the majority had said continue with the challenge through the end of February. So I had no problem doing that. But yeah, I cleared up those 2 rows in that freezer faster than what I thought I would. I was very pleased with that. Because honestly, when I started this challenge, I was expecting that I was going to have to go through March with the full challenge. Now, there are some things I'm going to continue, which I'll talk about it in a little bit, that I'm going to continue on through March. But like for the actual whole entire pantry challenge, I don't need to continue it because I reached the 2 major goals that I wanted to reach, was using up the old meat and opening up those 2 rows. So I did the 2 main goals that I set out to do. Okay, now the condiment packets, have I used those? Yes, I have. There is, wait, is there any? There is a little bit of mustard left. In fact, let me go grab that bag. Okay, so I have a big stuffed gallon bag. This is what I have left. It is only mustard. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 packs of mustard left. So we will have no trouble using that. I don't use mustard for a lot of things, but we do use it occasionally here and there. If I make like homemade pretzels, I love to dip homemade pretzels in mustard. Making honey mustard, love honey mustard sauce or dressing. And when I do burgers, definitely use mustard for burgers. So it'll get used up, but I am extremely pleased with this being all that's left of those packets. It was pretty awesome. Okay, so, and the bottom shelf, I already explained about the bottom shelf. Originally, I was down to less than half, so I was very, very excited about that. But then a few days ago, I found a bunch more items that I had to add to that bottom shelf. So I still went through plenty, but I've got more to go through. So with that, I'm going to talk about what I've learned with this pantry challenge. First thing, I knew that I had a lot of food. But I have a lot more pantry food than I thought I had. Going through, and I'm going to do a before and after video, you know, when this is all over. But in my pantries themselves, I don't notice that much of a difference. I haven't grocery shopped at all, with the exception of for dairy, for milk, and you guys saw those hauls. But it doesn't look like my pantry has gone down at all. I mean, it is still completely full. So that's one thing that I learned. The second thing I learned is I went through my freezers faster than what I thought I would. Both of my deep freezers were stuffed full, stuffed to the top. I really and truly thought it would be till March till I got my goals completed. I wholeheartedly thought it would take that long. But I guess it just goes to show when you focus on doing things, you know, I focused on spending nothing. We didn't go out to eat. I only got dairy and I only placed 2 orders, and you guys saw those too. So, I mean, I was like, you know, pretty much cooking from scratch every day, with the exception of days that we had leftovers. And sometimes I went off the meal plan, but I still used stuff that I had from the house. Like I did use, I needed some last minute things, so I used a lot of my proteins that were canned up instead of in the freezer. But I guess that throughout the normal year, because I always kept my freezer full, I had a false sense of how much I really had. Just because I've never done a challenge like this, and my freezer is always full, I always thought it would take me a long time to get through the freezer. But it really didn't. I mean, all that I have down there, I believe, are some smoked sausages still. And I have the chicken that I had explained earlier, 1 bag of older chicken. And then I have several vacuum sealed pork chops and a bunch of butcher box steaks, but none of that stuff is old. The only stuff that is old is the chicken that I need to get used up. Everything else in there is less than 6 months old, less than 3 months old. Because all that stuff was in my last butcher box haul, which was in, I think it was in December. Was it beginning of December or? Okay, friends, I just basically had heart failure after videotaping, or after recording all that stuff that I had. All of a sudden my screen went blank and there was no record of everything that I have recorded. And I was about freaking out because I've gotten 20 minutes into this video and I thought it was all gone and I was going to have to start all over, and I was about ready to cry. But then I lucked out. I rebooted everything, and luckily I have everything automatically saved to the cloud, so it was there. But now I have to regroup myself to get back to where I was. Whew, okay. I think I was talking about what I have learned and the freezer. I went through the freezer. Yes, I went through the freezer much faster than what I thought I would. And the only stuff that is down there, with the exception of the chicken that is from last year's CSA, everything else is like from December or November. So that's all newer stuff. So, okay. So then the third thing that it's not that I learned this. I never had any intention of it, which I had mentioned in previous videos. I did not touch any of my long-term food storage. I did not have any intention of it. I only wanted to use the freezers and my everyday pantries. I did not want to use my 1-year pantry. I didn't want to use my long-term pantry. So I did good with that. There's only one thing that I ran out of, but I had a substitute for it. The only one thing that I ran out was I needed like 6 cans of tuna for those tuna cakes that I made, and I think I only had 3 cans or something like that. But I also had other canned fish, so I substituted in along with the tuna that mackerel. And downstairs in my 1-year pantry, I have tons of tuna down there, but I was not going to go and get it for the challenge because I said I didn't want to do anything with my long-term pantry. So with what I had in my regular everyday pantry, I was able to cover it. Okay, so that kind of goes into my next thing. Was there anything that I ran out of? Yes, I ran out of that tuna. Was it a problem? No, because I had mackerel that I could substitute for the rest of the tuna that I needed. So it was not a big deal. The only other things that I ran out of was fresh produce and fresh fruit. Now I still have frozen fruit and I still have frozen veggies, but like the fresh stuff I ran out of. I still have canned carrots and frozen carrots, but I ran out of fresh carrots. I have frozen onions. I have dehydrated onions. I have freeze-dried onions, but I just ran out of, with the dinner that I did yesterday, the sheet pan meal, I just finished the last of my onions. Usually my onions last a pretty long time. I will get 2 big bags, 1 bag of yellow and 1 bag of red onions, and they last a long time. So these lasted 2 months. I got my last groceries before the pantry challenge started, and that's when I got those 2 bags of onions. So they lasted all this time, but I still have, is it maybe 1 or 2 bags yet of onions still in the freezer. I have some pickled onions, canned. I have, let me see, is there any other, and the dehydrated onions. So I have plenty of onions. And I did, once the pantry challenge started, and we were a little late this year because we left our Christmas tree up a week, 2 weeks later than what we normally do. So I was a little late getting my greenhouse started, but we have been eating alfalfa sprouts, bean sprouts, and arugula and spinach. Those are things that I have been sprouting. We set up the greenhouse when we took the Christmas tree down, because that's where we set up our indoor greenhouse. So in there, I planted the spinach, the arugula, green lettuces, microgreens and stuff like that. So we've been, eating a little bit of those. It is just now getting to the point where I could make a salad with it. Before it was just greens on things, on sandwiches or on top of pizza. I like arugula on top of homemade pizzas and, just stuff like that. So, but it's just now getting to that point where I could actually make a couple salads with it. But so that is what I ran out of. The tuna, which was not a big deal because I had a substitution. And like I said, I know I've got several dozen cans downstairs in long-term storage, but I just ran out of my everyday pantry tuna. And the fresh produce, which is what everybody else would run out of, unless you're living in a zone that, that you can garden all year round. I'm in Pennsylvania. It's, it's wintertime. We can't plant all year round. I can plant herbs inside, and I can plant some leafy greens inside during the winter, but that's pretty much all that I can really do here in Pennsylvania in the wintertime inside my house. So now with my takeaway from this pantry challenge is I had a lot of fun. I loved doing it. It made me accountable for what I said I was going to do, what I wanted to do, the goals I set out, and it made me accountable for reaching those goals. I did what I needed to do. I needed to rotate through that freezer. Now, I know that in the coming years, I'm going to have to do that same thing, because there is going to come a time, even as much as I try to stay on top of it, sometimes there are times when I get like bulk meat from a local farmer, or I go shopping and get, you know, a really great deal on something, or a butcher box haul comes at a time that's inconvenient for me and I can't reorganize everything. Everything just gets thrown on top. This is the real world. I know that that's going to happen. As much as I try for it not to happen, it happens. Life happens. So I do know that I will be doing this pantry challenge every January. And depending on what my goals are, is whether it's going to go January, February, just January, February, March, you know, whatever. Depends on what my goals are, will be how long that pantry challenge is. So I am looking forward to doing that next year, and we'll do all this all over again and see how much it differs from this year. I shouldn't have any condiment packets to work through next year, because, you know, we don't order out. So I really don't get condiment packets for anything. So, but anyway, so that is one thing. And the other takeaway from this is I went through my freezer stuff way more than I thought I would go through, and went through my pantry stuff way less than I thought I would. I was so focused on those goals of getting the freezer cleaned out that I did really, really well. But it doesn't seem like my pantry really suffered anything. I mean, other than that tuna, but there was only 3 cans of tuna in there. I usually keep about half dozen cans of tuna in there. But, you know, I must have made a tuna salad not long ago and never replenished what I used. So, but I'm not anywhere close to running out of anything. So, and then with my bottom shelf down there, I did use a lot, and what was left before I found all the hiding things, all I had left, I had 3 quarts of barbecue sauce, and I had 5 jars of banana peppers and 5 jars of jalapeno peppers. That might seem like a lot, but that's not a lot to me, because we go through those things. We eat banana peppers with everything. We eat jalapenos with everything. Me and my husband absolutely love spicy foods. And if something is not spicy, we're either adding jalapenos, adding hot banana peppers, adding Hungarian hot peppers, or adding hot sauce or sriracha sauce. You know, we're adding something to it because we enjoy spice in everything. Okay. So, I'm not concerned about those, but those are older jars. I do have plenty. These are all peppers here, you know, peppers, cowboy candy and stuff, but these were all done last year. So, but what I have down there is stuff that has been done older. They're nothing fancy. They are just your standard canned Hungarian peppers and jalapeno peppers. You know, they're not cowboy candy. They're nothing fancy. They're just the standard jarred stuff. So, so with those two things that I did not utilize as much as I thought I would, I am going to continue this pantry challenge on through March for pantry items. I'm not saying that I'm not going shopping. I'm saying that I'm not going to be shopping for any pantry items. Like, I'm not going to be buying any canned goods. I'm not going to be buying any spice packets or instant meals or something. I still have plenty of that stuff that I did not get through that I was hoping to get through. And you guys will see that whenever, when this is all done and I do the end tours. But I didn't get through much. So I am going to be doing grocery hauls, but those grocery hauls are going to be strictly like mega sale items, meats, like frozen things, fresh produce, fresh fruit, but nothing is going to be like pantry staple items because I don't need anything. And what I like to do every year to keep my 1 year pantry, my 1 year long-term pantry, I've got several pantries going on, but the 1 year pantry, that is not my everyday pantry. So it's kind of like 1 to 3 years. They're canned goods and stuff like that last a long period of time. So what I like to do is I like to go through all of my stuff up here, empty all of them out, and then bring everything up to reload all of my cabinets again. And then with all that empty space that I just created downstairs in my 1 to 3 year pantry, I refill that with new purchases. Like, I will go and I will purchase 6 cases of corn, 6 cases of green beans, and whatever it is that we use. When I first started preparing like this, I pretty much bought everything for like just in case. But I'm trying to like gear away from that because I would much rather have the things that we use all the time. I would rather have an abundance of that than have a case of something that I might use once a year or something like that. Perfect example, artichoke hearts. Okay, I like artichoke hearts. My husband likes them too, but I don't cook with them often. I will put them out once in a while with a charcuterie board or with, some kind of an Italian platter or something like that. And once in a while I'll make a spinach and artichoke dip and stuff like that. But do I need a whole case of artichokes? No, because I won't use a whole case of them before they expire. You know what I mean? But like a case of corn, well, I'll easily go through a case of corn quickly. We probably have corn at least once every other week. So, 52 weeks, half of that, 26 weeks, that's 26 cans of corn. So I would go through a case in a year. So I want to kind of focus whenever I empty out my pantry, I want to bring all the stuff up, reload myself, and then really start focusing on the stuff that I use. And stuff that I have an abundance of that I don't use, I want to go ahead and get using that stuff so I can use that space for other things. I don't know how much of that there is. Well, I do know that I have a lot of store-bought ketchup, but I make my own ketchup. It was kind of like, in case I ran out of my homemade ketchup, I had a lot of ketchup down there. And then when my one son was younger, he's my older son who's at college, he's my ketchup boy. He was in the funky stage where he would only have Heinz ketchup. You know, he didn't want homemade ketchup. No matter how much I had them taste the same, it didn't matter. He wanted Heinz ketchup. Okay, I get that. So I made sure I had Heinz ketchup stocked for him. But, you know, now he's older and now he doesn't care. He uses my ketchup all the time. So I don't need to have the store-bought ketchup if I am continuously making ketchup. To me, it's something very easy to make, and I enjoy it because I like to play around with the flavors and, you know, add a little bit extra spice to it if I want. My younger son isn't really into ketchup. He's a mayonnaise kid. So he doesn't really, you know, care much about ketchup. So I can make it a little bit spicier, you know. So that's kind of what I'm at. I do know that there are a few things that are taking up a lot of space downstairs that does not need to be there. And then I could really utilize that space on stuff that I use all the time. Yeah. So, okay. I need to move on because this video is getting very long. I'm sorry. I start talking and I keep going on and on and on, but I'll flip through this next part pretty fast. Okay, so that is all of my thoughts on the pantry challenge. It was wonderful. Yes, it was so worth it. Yes, I reached my goals. Yes, I will do it again, and I loved it. Yes. So thank you very much, Jessica at Three Rivers Homestead, for introducing me to that several years ago. And this year was the first time that I was able to enjoy it along with everybody else. So, okay, so with this second part of this video, I'm going to talk about things that are coming up in March. So, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. What are you waiting for? Because there's lots of good stuff coming up and you're not gonna wanna miss it. So hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell, so it will notify you every time that I shoot out a video. Okay. So things that I have coming up in March, and these are going to be things that I do every single month. I'm going to be doing like 4 guaranteed videos, focused videos every month. And they are focused, each video is, one video is going to be focused on long-term storage. One video is going to be focused on canning something. One video is going to be focused on freezer meals, and one video is going to be focused on a DIY standard pantry staple. Okay, so I am going to do those 4 things every single month. I might have an order for it. I might not. I don't know, but I will be doing those 4 things definitely, as well as on top of my normal stuff, my what's for dinner videos. And I just put a poll out, so if you haven't seen it or haven't voted, make sure you go ahead and vote about whether you guys want me to continue on with the menu plan or not. I do the menu plan every week regardless whether you guys want to see it or not, but let me know if that is something, if you were taking anything away from that, if it was helping you in any way. But I do that every week, so it doesn't matter to me. But if you're not interested in doing it, then I won't video it. I won't put it out here. So you just let me know whether you still want to see those meal plan videos or if you want me to skip them. I'm not worried about them. But I will still be doing what's for dinner videos and stuff like that. So, okay. So for March, for my long-term storage, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do meal in a jar. As I said, I'm focusing all this year doing at least 1 case a month. There might be some months I might do more, but my plan is to do at least 1 case a month of some meal that is in here. And next month, March month, I am going to do a chicken noodle veggie skillet. Okay. And that, if any of you have the book, I'll tell you what page it is on. I think it's like 18 or something. Yeah, this actually says a turkey skillet, but I think I'm going to do, well, I do have turkey. It's either going to be turkey or chicken, but it is on page 18. Turkey noodle skillet. So I will be doing at least a case of that for the meals in the jar for March. Okay, now the second goal that I have, canning. I'm going to do a canning meal. And what I'm going to focus on in March is I am going to can pork barbecue. That is one of my favorites. I think it's a favorite of everybody in the house. They all like it. They all love when I make it, but it is one of my favorite items to have. I am always excited to make pork barbecue because I love pork barbecue sandwiches, pork barbecue wraps, pork barbecue tacos. I love pork barbecue. So I am going to buy several pork butts or pork shoulders, hopefully on sale. And I am going to smash out as many meals in a jar, canning of pork barbecue that I can. Now we will have pork barbecue that day for dinner. But I am going to try and can up as much as I can because there's nothing like being able to open that up and put it on a tortilla and have a quick taco in 5 minutes. All you got to do is heat it up. Heck, you don't even have to heat it up. But you get my picture. Okay, so I'm going to do that. For the canning meal in a jar is going to be pork barbecue for March. March for freezer meals. I am going to do Salisbury steaks. So if you are a Salisbury steak lover or you would just like to learn how to make them, this is one of the, I'm a person, I love to try all different kinds of recipes and then, kind of like take some things from different ones to create my best recipe. But this recipe is a tried and true recipe that I tried. I found it in the first time I made it. I swore I was never going to change it because I absolutely loved it. It was exactly what I wanted in a Salisbury steak. So I will share that recipe with you, and it makes for a wonderful freezer meal because even though you think of Salisbury steak as being a simple meal, there are a lot of steps to it. So if you already have all the ingredients and the patties made and frozen, that's half the battle right there. So I love having Salisbury steaks in my freezer that I can just pull out as many as I will need for dinner. Okay, so that will be our freezer meal for March. So I'm keeping an eye open for big beef prices, sale prices, because beef has gone out of control lately. Ground beef, $6.99 a pound? No. So I'm just going to keep my eye out for the big sales that are coming for ground beef. And when I see it, I am going to indulge. Okay. And then the DIY item that I have for this month is my homemade taco seasoning mix. I've had many people ask me for it. I haven't needed it because I had a big jar of it, but I've been using a lot of it lately, so I'm down to like maybe a third of a jar. So I am going to bring you guys along with me, and I'll get to show you how to make the homemade taco seasoning that you can store for long term. Like you can make enough for a year or whatever it is. I usually make like a year's worth at a time. So I will bring you along for that. And that will be our DIY pantry staple item that we will do in March. Homemade taco seasoning. Okay, and that's it. I'm sorry this was a long-winded video, but I had a lot to talk about. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys got something from it. If you did, click that like button below. You know YouTube loves the like button. And give me a comment if you have thoughts, if you have ideas, if you have things you want me to try, things you want me to do, challenges you want me to do. I love reading all about it. So just go ahead and comment below anything that you want me to discuss or make or anything like that. I'm here for it. Love it. Okay, everybody, call it Carrie's. Forgot the name of my channel. Carrie's Culinary Crafts. And I hope you enjoyed this. Hit that subscribe button. And I will see you next time. Bye, friends.